water, let's talk climate, let's talk arts and music. And we are lucky to have His Excellency, the Denmark Ambassador to Ghana, Linulf, to give us some experiences, some lessons, some ideas as far as sustainability in these key 3 areas I've mentioned are concerned. You are welcome, sir, to JoyNews. Great to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I've forgotten you have your microphone. Anyway, so that's Linulf, the Denmark Ambassador to Ghana. Your Excellency, my first question to you, I'd like to know what inspired the use of music, which is a form of art, to bring about this collaboration when you want to ensure the sustainability of environmental development. We are talking about water and all of that. How is the embassy or the Denmark as a country able to use music as a form of art to ensure sustainability?
I have lived in Ghana for 3 months only now, but I've learned very fast how important music is to Ghanaians and to the life in Ghana. And music opens up a lot of doors. And it's a way of communicating and getting a message through. So when we use music also to communicate how important it is to take care of your water, I think it's a quite good idea actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting to note.
Yeah.
We've also realized that when it comes to sustainability, particularly for access of water, access to water is a big challenge across the globe. We know that Denmark has great innovative approaches ensuring access to water and sustainability. Share with us what lessons, what practical models can Ghana learn, and for that matter, Africa, from the Denmark's experience?
First of all, you're very right. Denmark and Ghana, we have worked on the water sector together for many, many years. We have built a lot of expertise together. So Denmark is normally what we say one of the most sustainable countries in the world. And we have learned that water is a very scarce resource. There's basically not enough water, so the water we have, we need to use very carefully. And that's all about making sure that we don't waste water. So if there are too many leakages in all the distribution networks, we need to get that fixed. And we also need to clean, if there is dirty water, wastewater from the industry or from households, we need to clean that water so we can use it again and again and again. So I think these are 2 of the lessons that we have learned in Denmark, and we are quite good at it. And we have, committed ourselves to work with Ghana on these things.
Talking about cleaning the water to make it usable, it comes to treatments. We as a country have always lamented when it comes to the cost of treatment. For the ordinary Ghanaian who lives in the very remote part of the country, it's a secondary matter if you're asking them to treat their source of water before they use, whether for domestic purposes or for commercial purposes. What, in your experience, do you think the ordinary Ghanaian can consider in terms of treatments? Far cheaper means of treating their source of water, so that yes, we need water, but in accessing the water you don't end up exposing yourself to diseases.
No, but overall I don't think it's the overall responsibility of the individual household to clean the water. That should be done centrally. So that's also why we work now together, Denmark and Ghana, on wastewater treatment plant and different water treatment plants to make sure that the water that ends up at the household are clean already when it reaches the household. Okay. But of course there are also simple techniques in the household. Remember to boil the water, remember to always use water in a careful manner and so on. Right? Yeah.
I'm sure you've been following the news in Ghana, particularly when it comes to the issue of water and clean water for that matter. A lot of our water bodies here in Ghana are being polluted by the activities of illegal miners. I believe that comes to you as very disturbing. Or just tell me, what do you make of the situation like that, and what can we do as citizens to reverse the trend?
So water is becoming increasingly scarce in Ghana for several reasons. One reason is climate change. So we also see that the rainy seasons are changing, the rain patterns are changing in Ghana. And actually in many parts of Ghana, especially in the north, there's less rain now than there used to be. And then you have the other issue of people polluting the water. It can be from mining industries, it can also be from agriculture industries, it can be from deforestation industries. So we see, the water resources being contaminated. And is quite alarming, I would say. And I think, if you continue like this in Ghana, in years ahead, there will actually be a quite, lack of water in Ghana. So there needs to be a change in these, in these patterns.
Talking about change, largely we look up to the government to take the policy actions, make policy interventions. But until that time, the citizens, are we so hopeless? What can we do? It's not as if you are proposing a solution for us. But yes, we have agitated for so many times. The situation is not changing. How hopeless can our situation be?
Well, first of all, I don't think Ghanaians and Ghana as such is hopeless. I mean, there's a lot of hope in this country because you have such a vibrant and young and talented population. And I'm sure that the right solutions will emerge. I'm sure that the young population will grow up taking good care of the country and the environment, because that is not something that is nice to, it's something that is needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about climate. We know that Denmark is investing heavily in Ghana's green sector. We just want to know, how does this generally reflect the Denmark's approach to cultural diplomacy, the broader vision?
So we work on many different angles here. So we work on climate change, climate action in our development cooperation, in our sector cooperation with several ministries in Ghana. We also work on it on our private sector development. We have a number of Danish companies investing and being very active in Ghana. And Danish companies, they are always front runners when it comes to sustainable practices and decarbonization of their activities. And then, yes, we bring in culture as well, like today's event where we bring in music and communicate through music the necessity of taking good care of your natural resources, not least water.
You think this measure is strategically giving you the needed response from the populace when it comes to using music to communicate the issue about climate to the populace?
I think it's quite smart, actually, yeah. And we just had a small concert here today with a new song written on water and how you can take care of water. And I could only watch the audience not only liking the music but also listening to the words, and I think that's a good signal to me that this actually works when you communicate such messages through music.
Last, but yes, that's my very last question. I just want to know, generally, what do you make of the response of the public when it comes to climate awareness, climate action awareness, climate responsiveness? What do you make of the general response from Ghanaians where you serve?
There are two angles to fighting climate change. One is to adapt to the circumstances. And I can see that, a lot of Ghanaians, especially in the north, has this very pressing challenge of adapting to climate change because the ecosystems are changing, the rain patterns are changing. So that's very high on the agenda. But there's also the longer term mitigating climate change, where you need to transform your energy sector and maybe use renewable energy instead of the traditional fossil fuel based energy. Okay. And I can see a need in Ghana to bring also the longer term measures higher up on the agenda.
Thank you very much. Anything more to share you think we need to know of regarding your work here in Ghana?
No, but thank you very much for this interview. And I think climate action is something that, Denmark is quite committed to. And I'm very proud that Ghana and Denmark are working so closely on these crucial matters.
Thank you. We continue the conversation. Next, I have with me Professor Karen Lauterberg. Professor Karen is a researcher from the Copenhagen University, and she will be telling us more as far as these arts and research are concerned. Prof, you are welcome to JoyNews.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
That's fine. So first of all, I'd like to know, you are a researcher and you have done quite some work as far as arts is concerned. My first question to you, as a scholar working at the intersection of religion, culture, and development, what does this fusion of music and water research represent to you?
Thank you so much for that question. This part of our research project is quite close to my heart. Absolutely. And I think having worked for a long time on religion, but also popular culture, you can see how religion, but also music holds a lot of knowledge in itself. So there was one Nigerian professor, Lola, he said, who invented Afrobeats? It wasn't at the university, it was at the street.
Yes.
Who invented music? Who invented the proverbs? So there's so much knowledge that lies in these more, you could say, traditional forms of knowledge sharing. So that is what I'm really interested in. Some of it is in religion, what people share, their beliefs, their experiences, but we also see that a lot of that is actually shared through music. Okay. So music as a form of communication, I think holds a lot of value as compared to what we have in written form. So I'm somebody from the university, so we like to write articles, we also book long people. Yes. We like to write books, we like to write policy briefs. Yes. But we also want to communicate with the
findings to the everyday person.
Exactly.
Yes. And music is a very perfect instrument, a very perfect form to be able to effect that communication. Yes, it said music is a universal language. Whatever it is that you need to say or you want to say, you can always say it easily through music. To our second question, we're talking about the kind of persons we have working together on this project. You have water professionals, you have musicians, you have researchers. I want to know how these three different worlds bring together the collaboration which is needed to ensure public engagement around water and climate issues.
Yeah, sure. So what we have tried to do in this project is we work with different groups of stakeholders. So we work with the policymakers, it's representatives of organizations, but we also look at artists as somebody who represents the communities in a different way than an organization. So what we have done when working with the artists, we've done a little bit of experimentation. So rather than us telling the artists what to sing about and what the music should be about, we ask them themselves to go into the community and ask people and see what they found. And we realized that they were a little bit more like maybe open-minded or just reflecting what people saw. We as researchers can maybe be like, think about ourselves as experts, so we know already what questions we want to have answered.
But very original.
Yeah, so that was very rewarding, and the feedback we also got from the musicians themselves was also very nice. I thought maybe, they think this is, why should they now waste their time, go around and asking people questions. But they actually said that they got to know their community in a different way. And they also realized it could be an inspiration for their own artistic work. And they want to sing more songs about what matters for the people. And I think also it's a different way of sharing important knowledge. As you said, music is a universal language.
I was just coming there. How are you able to leverage music as an art to be able to communicate your findings on climate and water related issues? How are you able to do that at the community level?
So what we did concretely, we organized a workshop in the Azawata community in Kumasi. Okay. So we had localized like a community leader. He was also a manager for certain artists. Then I also work with a band, a Kenyan band, that's the ones that are playing now, and a memory band based in Cape Coast.
Were you singing or you were playing?
Oh, no. I was dancing.
Just enjoying the music.
Yeah, just enjoying the music.
Understandable.
So they made the foundation of the song. We all traveled to Kumasi. We engaged with the local musicians there, and then they went out. And it happened kind of spontaneous. I mean, we didn't need a lot of introduction. And I think this is important also I mean, something that we researchers and policymakers we can learn from that. And I think there are also certain things you can say in a song that you maybe can't say directly when you speak.
Okay, yeah.
There's a way you can wrap up messages.
So that people, regardless of how unpleasant it is,
everyone know what it means. Please give us clean water. You don't need to say more. Everyone knows what.
And they dance to it.
Yeah.
But later they go and think about it.
Yes.
And they know what you're asking.
Exactly.
I get that. I get it. That's splendid.
Yeah.
So my last question to you is, looking ahead, how can partnerships between Ghana and the Danish researchers build on this initiative, that is using arts, to communicate and to share knowledge on climate issue? How are we planning to build on this initiative to inspire more community-driven, culturally grounded research on water and environmental resilience?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is just a beginning for us. So we are still testing out different ways of working. I think we as researchers, for example, if you work, so I'm in African studies, if you're in development studies, there are certain forms of knowledge that you think this is the knowledge we go after, like what is written down, what a stakeholder says. But we also have to expand our understanding of what knowledge is and where we seek knowledge. So I think like music, in Ghana there's a whole long tradition of the concert party music, high life music. That music holds a lot of wisdom in itself. And we also want to encourage the young artists in a way to continue with that and to tell their stories and their experiences through music. So it doesn't all have to be like superficial or something that's highly commercial. I think it holds a value to all of us, also in Denmark. So we can see how today people really enjoy the music. And so I think it's like an emergent field, but something that we can use to we can develop it further. And you can also see how, so in some of this, in this water song that we've produced, we see also there's a mix of very concrete messages. We want clean water, but also the more spiritual, like water comes from God, cleanliness, close to godliness, and so these like more existential references.
And these are things that resonate with the people locally.
Yes.
You don't have to spend so much time and words and explaining and convincing them to take the necessary
So
actions.
water is sacred, so we need all of us to protect it. So there's that little bit of introspection as well in the way the artists express themselves. So it's not all about blaming this or blaming Ghana Water or blaming another service deliverer for not, but there was also quite a bit. We have to protect our own water sources because they have been there with us for a long time.
I know. I was just taking Jacob's perspective regarding the way we are polluting our water bodies with illegal mining here in Ghana. I'd like to take your thoughts as well. What do you make of the situation with water pollution here in Ghana, particularly the activities of illegal miners who, like you said, we all need to protect and preserve our water bodies? I'd like to know your perspective.
I think it's a very complex issue, but it's also a very, I would say, urgent issue. So we see how, there's a like lack of water delivery. Because of that, the pollution of water, it will affect everyone's health. So that is a very important issue to take into consideration. But we also know in some of the areas where mining, there's a long history for mining. So it's also people's livelihoods. In some areas where, maybe historically through generations, people have lived off mining. So I think that aspect also needs to be taken into consideration, that the people on the ground, they also need then to have alternative ways of feeding themselves and their families. So I think there's
You are into research, and I believe you have done quite some work from the university you are coming from, and there will be some lessons that you wish Ghana has had knowledge of or could draw from you. I'd like to know from your findings and the way state actors, let me say governments, responsible agencies, are responding to the issue at hand. What do you make of it?
I think the most important insight and learning that we have gained from our work so far is that there's a little bit a tendency to see things in opposition. So the formal system, the informal system, regularity, irregularity. But we see also that the way people are piecing together, for example, the water services or the wastewater systems. One of our colleagues today talked about hybrid sanitation. So people do what they do for a reason. So rather than tagging people as being irregular in their practices or representing something informally that needs to be corrected, we need to understand the systems that are placed. Every time it holds some like wisdom or there's a rationale to why people do as they do. So how can we, I mean, as researchers, but also at the policy level, learn from that? It doesn't necessarily mean that everything should just be non-regulated, but to try. I think if we don't try and understand why people do as they do, it will be difficult to change. I think so.
Attitude.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think that's relieving. Are you able to share with us? I mean, this is my last question to you. Some of the communities you have worked in and what your impressions have been so far in terms of response to the things that need to be done.
Yeah. So we're working in 3 areas in Kumasi, Ijisu, Azawase and Ayum, which is part of the Bosomtwe district. So it's Greater Kumasi. So I myself have worked more in Azawase, and I can see that there's a bit of a tension at times between the Ghana water delivery and what people are experiencing. So there's something in that relationship. I think that needs to be.
Tension as in lack of the required supply. The
yeah.
demand is outweighing. So it's a capacity
so there's a bit
issue.
of uncertainty about water. So people will say, okay, we pay, but water is not coming always, and we are not advertised or alerted to if the water is not coming. So I think that's one issue perhaps that's important to think about. And another area where we work in Jisu, it's not covered by Ghana Water, but there people also see a little not complaining, but they also feel they're not seen as Guinean citizens because it's not covered. So there's also that connection between your perception of yourself and your perception of citizenship, and in relation to what kind of infrastructure that the states provide to you. So I think that's an interesting or important relationship to look into.
You think this tension we risk anything in the future as a result of the inability of the responsible agencies to resolve this tension between the two people?
Maybe, lack of trust could develop more, and that would really be a shame. So I think that's something important to work on, how to establish that. I know Ghana Water Company is also working on water, like more informal water association committees. So I think that's a very important way also to ensure that continuous dialogue with the users themselves, rather than tagging people as you're doing something wrong, or you are doing some illegal practices, or you're stealing our water without paying. So I think that is important, like that kind of level of recognition, and yeah.
Thank you very much, Karen.
Oh,
you're doing
welcome.
great. Thank you so much. So that's Karen Lauterbeck. She is a professor of research, or in research, right?
Yes.
From the Copenhagen University, but she's currently in Ghana with the Danish Embassy, and they are doing quite some great work here in Ghana. As far as access to water is concerned, when we are talking about climate change and sustainability, there are quite a lot of lessons we can learn from the people of Denmark in order to make our case better. Been great having a chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me.